here lately in the last couple of years, it's been more geared toward the athlete, the youth athlete, whether it's football, track, soccer, volleyball. I just take them all and I kind of lean toward the speed and agility, strength training, and just for the last couple of years, that's kind of where my heart has been in that. So you can't be a running back with a knee injury. So, but me not being smart enough to know hide that injury or don't show that, they seen that, they backed off. So end up having to going from D1 stuff down to JUCO. You know what I'm saying? And then going to JUCO and then just really not being in that mental space, knowing how to fight through that and tough that out. You end up, I know now I went through a little bit of depression about it. Then looking at it like, dang, I didn't know how to climb out of that hole because my whole thing was I'm being groomed to be a professional athlete. It was no plan B for me. Like they tell you to fall back on your education, but to me, I'm like, nah. I'm playing ball, right? But when that don't happen, there was nothing else. There was nobody else to say, hey man, okay, that didn't happen. What's next for you? The way I coach on ability, not age.
Okay, so explain that.
So you can have, let's say you got some 7, 8-year-olds, but that one kid, he can hang with the 10-year-olds. I coach him on that. I don't keep him at the 7-year-old level if he can move up. See, with my son, I always played him up. So even he never played with his age group. I always played him with older kids. That's what I did, and it just makes him better. So I just made sure he got that extra work, not just at practice with the team. We always did extra. We always worked on stuff that I knew that I didn't get to work on, but I was gonna go ahead and get that to my son because I didn't have it.
So you used a pain point of your life to push you and to help motivate you and how you approached your son. Let's unravel a little bit of that because this is probably the most important part of why this podcast exists.
So what's funny about this is probably about the second or third game in, I'm starting to notice it. When people are lined up, other teams are lined up around the field because they heard about my son. They want to see what he looked like. I'm hearing these dudes standing right next to me don't know it's my son. Hey, they got that kid, man. Why didn't they use him? He's on the sideline. I'm just sitting there listening to it. I got other teams trying to see my son. They won't even play him. I said, I see what y'all doing. I said, y'all are not preparing these boys for the next level. And I told Zay, I said, man, we put you in front of everybody. They asking us for the phone number. We gave the phone number. They got an answer for that. What they gonna say?
Yeah.
Like they calling for you. They got an answer. Like, man, we saw this kid at this camp. He play on your team. Why don't we see him?
The work had already been put in place. It ended up at the end of it all. How many offers did your boy get?
He had over 25 D1 offers.
Over 25 Division I offers.
No help from his high school coach. They didn't have a hand in not one of them. Not one. And that's because, again, the reason for this whole thing. The reason for this whole thing is I figured out, like, okay, I'm gonna have to go get after this myself. Because there ain't gonna be no help from them guys. Them guys is not here for the best interest of my son.
That's important to understand as it relates to context because all of this adds up to that athlete's experience. Mind you, we are still talking about a high school young man who some would say a kid who's experiencing all of these different situations and now having to figure out how to navigate them when he just wants to play ball.
That's all he wants to do.
Part of this is a conversation to talk about what that looks like from a parent's perspective. You can see how a parent may feel some type of way if this is their child's experience. So then in the process of this all happening, myself and CB would get on the phone and talk, and we would just talk, and we were talking. I would really try to be there to be just a listening ear because I'm noticing what this is doing in real time to him and to Zay. So at some point we started to say, you know what, man, this is probably the experience of a number of different people. And something, we should do something with this experience. All of this challenge, all of this hardship, all of the things that you experience has to serve someone else in some type of way, which led us to this conversation here. I'm going to go back and say, this is the reason why this podcast is existing. It's because we recognize that it's important that athletes are surrounded with a support system to be the most successful they can be. So what was the team that got him ready for this moment?
So obviously myself is there.
That's what?
At the parent / coach, trainer, stay right here.
Okay.
He's training his corner coach outside of school.
Okay.
This is his trainer, DB coach. Got it? That guy has a brother. Does the same thing. So that's that.
That's 5 on the team.
That's 5 on the team. You see what I'm saying? So now we kept it right there.
Okay.
Okay? So them 2 guys, it's Coach O and Coach J.O., 365 training. Them 2 guys, man, they seen it. They seen him since he was 5'6". They already knew what he could do. So them 2 guys, man, with the work they put in with him, man, spending that time with him, going to camps, taking us to schools, man, the phone calls, the connections they got. That's how we was able to put that together.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I added him into that because now he's like, okay, this is the aspect that I can help in that. I'm not going to even come from this side. I'm coming from because that's a lot to go through. So he's like, I'm going to come from the mental side of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to come from the side of let him have some systems in place. What type of systems he can have? Like, that led for him checking in with him, phone calls, having them set up a calendar, just checking in with him, just little stuff outside of that is going to help him prepare a little bit past football and sports, but the preparation of different stuff that he can do. So you got him in the team, that's kind of where we came to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And just, you got a young kid going through all of that, man. You know what I'm saying? And still having the prowess enough to know, you know, can I say there were times he probably did want to quit.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to allow it though, because I'm like, nah, you're not going to let them steal your joy from that.
Wow.
We done work too hard.
You're not going to let them steal your joy.
We're not going to let them take your love for the game away.
Wow.
The team, back to that, is like, if I would have had something like that when I was going through, like I told y'all, when my stuff didn't work out, you end up with a little depression because you don't have anybody there to kind of steer you. Like, hey man, I know that's happening to you. We still see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
We still see where we're headed. We can't let that derail you.
Yeah.
So me knowing what I went through and what, you know, recognizing later on in life that I was kind of going through a depression of it, I was determined not to let that happen to him.
And I think that's a good point to put in, because that's where I feel that my contribution could be most valuable, because of my experience of coaching for 17 plus years in various programs, 4-time state champion as a coach and player, and understanding I've also coached on teams that were 0-10 a couple of seasons. So understanding how all of those things in 2017, I decided to make a transition. I'm still coaching, but I at the point lost 5 athletes, 2 to prison, 3 to death. And I started to recognize the mental aspect of how this is affecting kids, how it affected us as coaches when we're going through different things. So I started my paradigm shift, and I was like, you know what? I love showing up for athletes the way I've been doing as a personal coach, position coach, even as a head coach at a point in track. But something else has to happen. And that mental aspect is what I dove straight into. So from that moment on, I started to do the work to show up, to be able to learn and give tier 1 universal support to mental aspects of not only mental health, but also the game, and helping athletes parallel what they're learning in football to life, how they're learning and using lessons for life to help them through challenges that they're going through. So all of that centered around is how we want to show up for parents, how we want to show up for athletes, how we want to have conversation. I know from the conversation that was just had, real life stuff happening. There may be somebody that feels some type of way. Come on and let's talk about it. You have an opportunity to give your perspective if you feel like it was different. But I think these conversations need to happen because we are setting our athletes up for failure if we're not addressing this from all ends and all spectrums. As I talk to you about that squad mentality, there are various individuals that are part of this team that was able to help assist. He did the work. Nothing against what Zay did on and off the field, in the classroom, all of this, but he was surrounded by a support system to help make him successful. And so I hope to continue to have conversations with those pieces of individuals who help make him successful. Last thing before we get out of here, one more time, where do the people find you? How can they get in contact with you if they're interested in learning a little bit more?
So you can go, it's Arlington Elite Training. If you go to the Instagram or my Twitter, Mr. Chris Brown 37, Mr. Chris Brown 81 on Instagram, so I'll be on there.
Yeah, the man Chris Brown. Y'all call him the real, just the dancer dude. I call him the man.
Yeah.
Call him the man Chris Brown.